Hi everyone. We are back to keep reading James and the Giant Peach by Roald Dahl. And we are almost done with this book. I think we're going to have probably 3 more videos. This one, the next one, and then one on Tuesday to finish it up. So, let's get started. Yesterday when we read, oh my goodness, they ran into the cloud men and they broke the rainbow that the cloud men were making. And then the centipede got super sticky and covered in paint. And they had a lot of really crazy ideas about how to fix it. So we're going to read to find out what happens next. All right. They all raised their heads listening. Shh. There it is again. But the voice was too far away for them to hear what it was saying. It's a cloud man, Miss Spider cried. I just know it's a cloud man. They're after us again. It came from above, the earthworm said, and automatically everyone looked upward. Everyone except the centipede, who couldn't move. Ouch, they said. Help! Mercy! We're going to catch it this time. For what they now saw, swirling and twisting directly over their heads, was an immense black cloud. A terrible, dangerous, thundery-looking thing that began to rumble and roar even as they were staring at it. And then from high up on the top of the cloud, the faraway voice came down to them once again, this time very loud and clear. On with the faucets, it shouted. On with the faucets! On with the faucets! 3 seconds later, the hole underneath of the cloud seemed to split and burst open like a paper bag. And then out came the water. They saw it coming. It was quite easy to see because it wasn't just raindrops. It wasn't raindrops at all. It was a great, solid mass of water that might have been a lake or a whole ocean dropping out of the sky on top of them. And down it came. Down and down and down, crashing first into the seagulls and then onto the peach itself, while the poor travelers shrieked with fear and groped around frantically for something to catch hold of. The peach stem, the silk strings, anything they could find. And all the time the water came pouring and roaring down upon them, bouncing and smashing and sloshing and slashing and swashing and swirling and surging and whirling and gurgling and gushing and rushing and rushing. And there's a picture of it. And it was like being pinned down underneath the biggest waterfall in the world and not being able to get out. They couldn't speak. They couldn't see. They couldn't breathe. And James Henry Trotter, holding on madly to one of the silk strings above the peach stem, told himself that this must surely be the end of everything at last. But then, just as suddenly as it had started, the deluge stopped. They were out of it, and it was all over. The wonderful seagulls had flown right through it and had come out safely on the other side. Once again, the giant peach was sailing peacefully through the mysterious moonlit sky. I am drowned, the old green grasshopper said, spitting out water by the pint. It's gone right through my skin, the earthworm groaned. I always thought my skin was waterproof, but it isn't, and now I'm full of rain. Look at me! Look at me! Shouted the centipede excitedly. I'm washed all clean. It took the paint off. The paint's all gone. I can move again. That's the worst news I've heard in a long time, the earthworm said. The centipede was dancing around the deck and turning somersaults in the air and singing at the top of his voice. Oh, hooray for the storm and the rain! I can move. I don't feel any pain. And now I'm a pest. I'm the biggest and best, the most marvelous pest once again. Oh, do be quiet, the old green grasshopper said. Look at me, cried the centipede. Look at me, I am freed, I am freed. Not a scratch, nor a bruise, nor a bleed. To his grave this fine gent they all thought they had sent, and I very near went. Oh, I very near went. But they can't quite the wrong centipede. Chapter 31. So now the centipede's all clean because of the rain. How fast are we going all of a sudden, the ladybug said, and I wonder why. I don't think the seagulls like this place any better than we do, James answered. I imagine they want to get out of it as soon as we can. They got in a bad fright in the storm we've just been through. Faster and faster flew the seagulls, skimming across the sky at a tremendous pace, and the Peach trailing out behind them. Cloud after cloud went by on either side, all of them ghostly white in the moonlight. And several more times during the night, the travelers caught a glimpse of cloudmen moving around on the tops of these clouds, working their sinister magic upon the world below. Once they passed a snow machine in operation, with the cloudmen turning the handle and a blizzard of snowflakes blowing out of the great funnel above. They saw the huge drums that were being used to make thunder, and the cloudmen beating them furiously with long hammers. They saw the frost factories and the wind producers and the places where cyclones and tornadoes were manufactured and sent spinning down towards the earth. And once, deep in the hollow of a large billowy cloud, they spotted something that could have only been a cloudman's city. There were caves everywhere running into the cloud. And at the entrances to the caves, the cloudmen's wives were crouching over little stoves with frying pans in their hands, frying snowballs for their husbands' suppers. And hundreds of cloudmen's children were frisking about all over the place and shrieking with laughter and sliding down the billows of the cloud on toboggans. Toboggans are like sleds. An hour later, just before dawn, the travelers heard a soft whooshing noise above their heads, and they glanced up and saw an immense gray, bat-like creature swooping down toward them out of the dark. It circled round and round the Peach, flapping its great wings slowly in the moonlight and staring at the travelers. Then it uttered a series of long, deep, melancholy cries and flew off again into the night. Oh, I do wish the morning would come, Miss Spider said, shivering all over. It won't be long now, James answered. Look, it's great. It's getting lighter over there already. They all sat in silence, watching the sun as it came up slowly over the rim of the horizon for a new day. There's a picture of the bat-like creature. Chapter 32. And when full daylight came at last, they all got to their feet and stretched their poor, cramped bodies. And then the centipede, who always seemed to see things first, shouted, Look, there's land below. He's right, they cried, running to the edge of the Peach and peering over. Hooray, hooray! It looks like streets and houses, but how enormous it all is. A vast city, glistening in the early morning sunshine, lay spread out 3,000 feet below them. At that height, the cars were like little beetles crawling along the streets, and people walking on the pavement looked no larger than tiny grains of soot. But what tremendous tall buildings, explained the ladybug. I've never seen anything like them before. What town do you think this is? This couldn't possibly be England, said the old green grasshopper. Then where is it? Said Miss Spider. You know what those buildings are? Shouted James, jumping up and down with excitement. Those are skyscrapers. So this must be America. And that, my friends, means that we have crossed the Atlantic Ocean overnight. You don't mean it, they cried. It's not possible. It's incredible. It's unbelievable. Oh, I've always dreamed of going to America, cried the centipede. I had a friend once who... Be quiet, said the earthworm. Who cares about your friend? The thing we've got to think about now is how on earth are we going to get down to earth? Ask James, said the ladybug. I don't think that would be so very difficult, James said. All we have to do is cut loose a few seagulls. Not too many, mind you, but just enough so that the others can't quite keep us in the air. Then down we shall go, slowly and gently, until we reach the ground. Centipede will bite through the strings for us one at a time. Chapter 33. Far below them, in the city of New York, something like pandemonium was breaking out. A great round ball as big as a house had been sighted hovering high up in the sky over the very center of Manhattan. Manhattan is New York City. And the cry had gone up that it was an enormous bomb sent over by another country to blow the whole city to smithereens. Air raid sirens began wailing in every section. All radio and television programs were interrupted with announcements that the population must go down into their cellars immediately. 1 million people walking in the streets on their way to work looked up into the sky and saw the monster hovering above them, and started running for the nearest subway entrance to take cover. Generals grabbed hold of the telephones and shouted orders to everyone they could think of. The mayor of New York called up the President of the United States down in Washington, D.C. to ask him for help. And the President, who at that moment was having breakfast in his pajamas, quickly pushed away his half-finished plate of Sugar Crisp and started pressing buttons right and left to summon his admirals and his generals. And all the way across the vast stretch of America, in all 50 states from Alaska to Florida and from Pennsylvania to Hawaii, the alarm was sounded and the word went out that the biggest bomb in the history of the world was hovering over New York City, and at any moment it might go off. So here's a picture. So you can see how a peach flying above the city might look scary. It might look like a bomb, but we know it's not really a bomb. So those are all the people scared looking up at the mysterious peach. And that is where we're going to end today. We will continue reading more tomorrow. Have a good day. Bye.